Everybody, excuse me. Everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so we're outside again. We're going to do another uh, comics review. Well, this is going to be a trade review. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around here and do it this way. And, okay, that's a little bit better. And today, we're going to talk about Richard Stark's Hunter, or Parker. Richard Stark's Parker, the Hunter, adapted and illustrated by Darwyn Cooke. All right, so the one I have in my hand is from 2009. And okay, so Hunter is an adaptation of the first Richard Stark's crime novel, starring his rugged anti-hero Parker. A Hunter adaptation was written and illustrated by Darwyn Cooke and published in 2009 by IDW. It is an independent comic book company formed around 1999. They're mostly known for the variety of popular licensed comics they publish. For example, G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony, a few Disney properties. Other adaptations of Starker's park stories, the outfits, the score, and Slayground followed afterwards. Hunter was based on a novel written by Richard Stark. Stark's real name was Donald Westlake. Westlake was a prolific writer during his time, most revered for his many crime novellas. Many have been adapted into films and movies. He's also written screenplays and other pulp material, and even including some, I guess, softcore porn. And Stark Westlake died in 2008. Darwyn Cooke's early work in comics goes back to the mid-late 80s, but he quickly left seeking better economic opportunities in commercial and graphic arts and animation. During that time, he most notably worked on television shows like the Batman and the Superman animated series. Cooke returned to comics in the late 90s, most notably doing work for DC. In the early 2000s, Cooke became critically acclaimed for Catwoman and a book he did called The New Frontier. Darwyn passed away in 2016. So there's been at least two movies inspired by The Hunter. There's Point Break, starring Lee Marvin, and Payback, starring Mel Gibson. So the plot is basically a straightforward revenge story. Parker's wife sells him out to the mob boss that double crosses him on a robbery. Parker finds his way back to Mel, the mob boss, in order to exact revenge, and we follow his journey as he works his way up the ladder to his ultimate goal. The art, well, for one thing, it's a period piece. It's set in the early 60s, so Darwyn Cooke is a really good fit. Cooke's art is often called retro. He blends a number of influences, bringing in cartoony and pop art and commercial art graphics from the 50s and 60s. You can see that influence in stuff like, you can kind of see it in like the old Ren and Stimpy cartoons and other modern things like the Impossibles movie. It's this kind of Art Deco and Space Age jazz graphics. Silver comics artists like Alex Toth, Jack Kirby, Carmine Infantino, etc. seem to be a big influence as well. For what it's worth, Bruce Timm is clearly a kindred spirit. Cooke is also great at depicting fashion styles of the time, and he's also done some really interesting work with the mid-tones. It's mostly in black and white, but there's a lot of mid-tones that are this kind of blue-gray color. Kind of wash type of thing going on. Layout wise, the layout wise, the Hunter is very interesting mix of text and art. The panels have no borders, and while there are speech balloons, there's many pages that are just text. The graphic novel foregoes the use of more comic booky tropes, such as panel captions and sound effects. So some of the themes they touch on here: before he died, Cooke worked with Westlake on the story to kind of get the tone just right, but it's basically a revenge story. So it's seen as straightforward and a necessary thing. The morality of it isn't very complex. It's all about masculinity. Parker is he's stoic, he's strong, he clearly has feelings, but vulnerability is not really expressed that much. The fact that Parker is a criminal and murderer is almost beside the point, but the fact that he was wrong and he wants to enact revenge, and we, the audience, identify with them. There's very little reflection on the part of the main characters about what they're doing and why they're doing. They aren't particularly nuanced, but they do resonate. Parker, his wife, and Mel, they're all written well enough that we can see parts of ourselves or people we know within them, and at least understand them. Of course, there's the whole visceral element. Parker's a character who works on gut and instinct. He's presented as smart, but even though if you take a step back, he's not super clever the way it's actually laid out here. But again, we, the audience, are meant to marvel at how much more clever he is than the other, high-ranking mob bosses and thugs. So when you look at it, Parker mostly succeeds through like brutality and intimidation, and his physicality and violence is, kind of meant to be admired a bit. Let's see here. So Hunter, well, here, let's show you some of the art here. So we've got this. We've got this kind of, like I said, old school Art Deco design here. Bam, double page spread. New York City, 1962. First thing he says is somebody tries to give him a lift is go to hell. Some nice storytelling here. As you can see, like I said, there's no panel borders. Lots of cool mid-tones. Nice use of the wash. A lot of this here is him finding his way back. He runs a couple scams in order to get enough money to get back on his feet. All right. More interesting layouts here. And he does mix up the whole sort of panel arrangement. Some pages you get a very traditional, six panel pages. Other places he does the kind of horizontal thing that looks more like movie layouts or what have you. All right. Okay. That's good without giving too much away. All right. So there you have it. Parker, it's tightly written. It's really well drawn, really well laid out. Thoughtful in its own way, even though it's kind of, like I said, a straightforward action revenge story. But I would say it does deserve its own place among modern crime comics and graphic novels in general. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and you guys have a good day.